5 morning affirmations that will change your life, inspired by the Buddha. Have you ever really paused in that first moment after waking up? Not the moment you open your eyes and groggily slap your alarm. Not the moment your mind immediately jumps to your to-do list. I mean, the true first moment. The breath before the world comes rushing in, before the questions, the worries, the noise, before anyone has told you what you should do, should be, or should fix. There exists a silence, a tiny sacred gap. And in that gap, something remarkable happens if we listen. We are reminded that we are alive. It's such a simple fact, isn't it? And yet, so powerful. You woke up, you're breathing, you have another chance. But here's the heartbreaking part. Most people skip that moment. They reach for their phones, they check messages, the news, their calendar. They start reacting before they've even centered themselves. They let the outside world hijack their inner world. And what happens when we start our day that way? Stress fills our body before water does. Anxiety takes root before sunlight hits our face. We begin reacting to life before we even remember we are alive. Let me tell you a story. There was once a woman named Ilara who lived in a small, quiet house near the sea. Her life looked perfect from the outside. She had a stable job, a loving partner, and a calendar full of plans. But every morning, she woke up feeling empty. She would stare at the ceiling, pick up her phone, scroll through the noise of the world, and wonder why nothing ever felt quite real. She had forgotten to be grateful. She had forgotten the miracle of breath. One morning, she received a letter in the mail. It was from her best friend, Amira, who had passed away 6 months earlier. The letter had been delayed, arriving late, but right on time. It simply said, "If you're reading this, I want you to do one thing for me. Tomorrow, when you wake up, don't touch your phone. Don't think about your job or your chores. Just breathe and whisper, 'I am grateful for this new day.' Do it for me. And if you do it for 7 days, I promise something will shift." That night, Alara placed the letter under her pillow and promised she'd try. The next morning, the alarm rang. Her hand instinctively moved toward her phone, but she stopped. She closed her eyes. She inhaled, deeply, slowly. She exhaled. She placed a hand on her chest. She whispered, "I am grateful for this new day." She didn't feel different right away, but she felt something, a softening. The following day, she did it again, and the day after, and something began to change. She noticed the birds outside her window. She tasted her tea instead of drinking it on autopilot. She began to feel like she was truly waking up. Gratitude had brought her back to life. Gratitude is a practice, a discipline. It's not always easy, especially when life is messy, when we're hurting, when the world feels heavy. But those are the days when it matters most. The Buddha once said, "Let us rise up and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us all be thankful." It sounds simple, maybe too simple, but that's the point. Gratitude isn't about having everything. It's about noticing what's already here. The air in your lungs, the sun in your window, the silence before the day begins. A single breath. And here's the truth. You don't need to feel grateful to begin the practice of gratitude. You just need to begin. Say it with me now. I am grateful for this new day. Say it again and again until it becomes your morning prayer. The world will try to rush you, to convince you that productivity is more important than presence. But you know better. You've read this far. You've remembered something that was already in you. The practice of waking up gratefully isn't about pretending that everything is okay. It's about acknowledging that even when things aren't okay, life is still a gift. So tomorrow, before anything else, say it again. Say it until your eyes water. Say it until your breath deepens. Say it until your body relaxes into the moment. Because this moment is all we have, and this moment is enough. And so are you. You are enough, simply because you are here. The sun does not ask if it's worthy before it rises. The waves do not check to see if they've earned their crash against the shore. They rise, they move, they exist, and so do you. Rise, dear one, wake, and whisper to yourself the most powerful affirmation there is, "I am grateful for this new day." Let that be your first act of courage. Let it be your first act of love. Let it be the beginning of something beautiful. Letting go sounds easy until you try it. Think about it. How many mornings have you woken up only to immediately remember a fight you had yesterday, or a mistake you made, or some disappointment that lodged itself in your heart like a stone? We carry so much, and much of it we carry unconsciously. We hold on to grudges, regrets, what-ifs, and should-haves. And each of them becomes a weight strapped to our spirit, dragging us into a new day with yesterday's shadows wrapped around us like a cloak. But here's the secret. You can't hold yesterday and embrace today at the same time. You have to choose. There's a story I once heard, one that I come back to again and again. Maybe you've heard it too. Two monks were walking through a forest on their way back to the monastery. As they walked, they came upon a woman standing beside a muddy stream. She was dressed in fine robes and clearly distressed. She couldn't cross without ruining her clothes. Without hesitation, the older monk picked her up and carried her across the stream. The younger monk followed in silence. They walked for hours. Finally, the younger monk couldn't contain his frustration. "We're not supposed to touch women," he said. "Why did you do that?" The older monk smiled gently and said, "I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" That story still stops me in my tracks. How often do we carry people, events, pains long after the moment has passed? How often do we live today through the lens of yesterday? The Buddha taught that attachment is one of the roots of suffering. But many misunderstand what attachment means. It's not just about clinging to things or people. It's about clinging to moments, both good and bad, that no longer exist. When we relive an argument over and over again in our mind, we're holding on to yesterday. When we punish ourselves for mistakes we can no longer fix, we're trapped in yesterday. When we define ourselves by who we were instead of who we are becoming, we are prisoners of yesterday. So how do we let go? We begin by acknowledging what we're holding. Close your eyes, take a breath. What are you still carrying from yesterday? A cruel word? A missed opportunity? A moment of shame? Bring it into your awareness. Don't judge it. Don't run from it. Just see it. Name it. Then gently tell yourself, "I let go of yesterday." You might need to say it 10 times or 100. You might need to write it down or scream it into a pillow or whisper it like a prayer. Whatever you do, let it go with intention. Let it go because you deserve to be free. Let it go because today is calling and you can't answer it with your hands full. There's a woman named Sarah who once shared her story at a retreat I attended. She had spent years grieving the loss of a relationship that had ended abruptly and without closure. Every morning, she woke up with a hollow ache. She replayed the breakup, the unanswered questions, the things she wished she'd said. One morning, she stood in front of her mirror and saw not herself, but a ghost of who she used to be. Tired, faded, grieving a version of herself that no longer existed. "I realized I wasn't mourning him anymore," she said. "I was mourning who I had been when I loved him." That day, she did something different. She lit a candle, wrote a letter she'd never send, and spoke out loud, "I let go of yesterday." Not because it didn't matter, but because it had already shaped her. And now it was time to live. Letting go is not forgetting. It's not pretending something didn't hurt. It's not denying the weight of what happened. Letting go is choosing not to let it define you. It's choosing freedom over familiarity, peace over pain. Every morning is a small rebirth. You open your eyes and the world is brand new. You open your eyes and you get to decide who you'll be today. Don't let yesterday decide for you. Say it now. "I let go of yesterday." Say it until your shoulders relax. Say it until your breath deepens. Say it until your heart believes you. And tomorrow, say it again. Because you are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your worst moment. You are this breath. You are this heartbeat. You are this sacred, fleeting, precious now. And you are free. There's a quiet power in stillness, a sacred strength in the space between stimulus and response. Most of us spend our days reacting to emails, to news, to texts, to things that pull our attention and scatter our focus. We are tugged, twisted, torn in 1,000 directions. And the result? We become strangers to our own minds. Our thoughts rush like traffic, honking and speeding and colliding. Anxiety becomes the default channel we tune into without even realizing it. Our inner voice? Often drowned out by the external noise. We forget that the mind is not the enemy, but it must be understood. It must be trained like a wild horse learning to trust the rider. The Buddha once said, The mind is everything. What you think, you become. This isn't just poetic, it's practical. Every action begins as a thought. Every word, every choice, every regret, every triumph. The mind is the seed, and what you feed it, fear or faith, confusion or clarity, anger or compassion, will grow. There's a man I met named Dario. He was a soldier once. Tall, quiet, intense eyes. He came home from the war not just wounded in body, but haunted in mind. Loud noises made him flinch. Crowds felt like traps. Sleep was a battlefield. He couldn't control the flashbacks. He couldn't silence the dread. Until one day, a fellow veteran handed him a small book of Buddhist teachings. Just a pocket-sized thing, the kind of thing you could lose in a couch cushion. But inside, Dario found a single sentence that cracked his armor. Rule your mind or it will rule you. It wasn't a threat. It was a truth. He began to sit in silence every morning, just 5 minutes at first, then 10, then 20. He focused on his breath, in, out, in, out. At first, it felt like nothing was happening, but slowly, the noise began to quiet. He could feel the gap between trigger and reaction widening. He wasn't just reacting anymore. He was responding. He wasn't a prisoner to his mind. He was learning to be its master. Now, maybe you're not a soldier. Maybe your battlefield looks different. Maybe your war is with stress, with depression, with insecurity, with that relentless inner critic that never seems to sleep. But the battle is real. And here's the truth no one tells you. You don't have to win the whole war today. You just need to win the next breath. Say it with me. I am calm and in control of my mind. Say it again. Let the words fill the space between your ears. Let them become louder than the worry. This isn't about perfection. You're not a robot. You'll have days where your mind races, where anxiety returns, where the old patterns sneak back in. But that doesn't mean you failed. It means you're still human. The goal isn't to eliminate all thoughts. The goal is to not let them control you. You are the sky. Your thoughts are the weather. Let them come. Let them go. Here's a practice for tomorrow morning. Before the world gets loud, before emails and errands and expectations, sit quietly for 1 minute. Just one. Close your eyes, place a hand on your heart, and say, I am calm and in control of my mind. Feel your breath enter. Feel it leave. That's your anchor. Your home. Your proof that peace is possible. You don't have to believe the storm. You don't have to chase every thought. You can choose stillness. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not your anxiety. You are calm. You are present. You are in control. And when you forget, which we all do, just begin again. Every breath is a new beginning. Every sunrise is a second chance. Your mind is powerful, but so are you. So say it once more. I am calm and in control of my mind. And carry that calm into your day, not as a shield, but as a compass. Let it guide you. Let it hold you. Let it remind you, you are home. Have you ever noticed how easily we underestimate the power of kindness? We think it has to be grand, monumental, a dramatic act that gets applause or recognition. But more often than not, it's the smallest acts of kindness that create the greatest shifts in someone's life. The smile that lifts a stranger's spirit, the word that steadies a friend's heart, the silence that listens instead of interrupting. Every day we are given countless moments to choose kindness, but we often miss them, lost in thought, overwhelmed by tasks, rushing from one thing to another. What would happen if we slowed down and responded with kindness? There's something sacred about the intention to begin your day with kindness. It changes your posture toward the world. You don't just react anymore, you respond. And that response can become a ripple of healing, spreading further than you may ever know. Let's begin with a story. A young boy named Aaron lived in a small village nestled between misty hills and rice paddies. He had a quiet soul, often lost in thoughts far deeper than his age would suggest. His mother worked long hours at a tea plantation, and his father had passed away when Aaron was 5. One morning, as he walked to school barefoot, a classmate named Niran shoved him aside in the mud. The other kids laughed. Aaron stood up, wiped off the mud, and said nothing. He sat at the back of the classroom all day, silent, withdrawn. The next day, he returned to school, again quiet. But this time, before class began, he walked over to Niran and placed a small bundle wrapped in cloth on his desk. Inside was a handful of wild guavas, Niran's favorite, known to grow on a tree near Aaron's house. Niran looked at him, confused. Why are you giving me this? Aaron shrugged, then said quietly, You looked sad yesterday. Maybe this will make you feel better. That single act of kindness shattered something inside Niran, something hard and angry, and replaced it with something soft. They became friends that day, lifelong friends. And years later, when Niran became a teacher and Arun a monk, Niran would tell that story to his students as the day he first understood what compassion truly meant. Because kindness is not weakness. It is strength wearing gentleness as armor. It is a choice, not always the easy one, but often the most powerful one. And the Buddha knew this deeply. In the Metta Sutta, the Buddha encourages us to radiate loving kindness to all beings, in all directions, without distinction. Not just to those who are kind to us, not just to those we find agreeable, but to all. That includes the driver who cuts us off, the coworker who gossips, the stranger who scowls, even and perhaps especially those who are hardest to love. Because their suffering is loud and sometimes it leaks out as cruelty. To respond with kindness is not to condone harm, but to interrupt the cycle of it. To say, this ends with me. We've all had moments where our patience wears thin. Maybe someone snapped at you in line, maybe you were blamed unfairly, maybe your efforts went unnoticed. The temptation is to snap back, to protect our ego, to assert our pain. But imagine instead that you took a breath, you paused, and you remembered, I will respond with kindness today. Not for their sake, but for yours. Because kindness is peace in motion. It grounds you. It keeps you in alignment with the life you're trying to build. Let's talk about kindness toward ourselves. This might be the hardest kind. Most of us are our own worst critics. We replay mistakes, we shame ourselves for not being better, faster, stronger, more forgiving. But how would you treat a dear friend who was struggling? Would you berate them, shame them? Or would you sit beside them, offer a warm word, a soft gaze, a touch of encouragement? You deserve that same compassion. You deserve to be the one who reminds yourself that your worth is not conditional, that your growth matters more than your mistakes, that every breath is a chance to begin again. Kindness is a skill. And like any skill, it can be cultivated. It can grow. It can deepen. Start with simple practices. Smile at yourself in the mirror each morning. Leave a kind note for someone you love. Give your full attention to someone who's speaking. Compliment a stranger with sincerity. Forgive someone who never apologized. Forgive yourself. When you practice kindness every day, it becomes a part of your nervous system, a default setting, an unconscious gift. And when enough people live this way, the world changes. There's a monastery in Myanmar where monks begin every day with this phrase, "Today, I will cause no harm. I will speak only truth. I will live with compassion." It sets a tone. It reminds them of their vow. What if you started your day the same way? Say it aloud. Today, I will respond with kindness. Write it somewhere visible. Let it be the anchor when the tide of life pulls hard. And if you fall short, which we all do, return gently. That's part of the kindness too. There's a story of a monk who walked through a town every morning for alms. One day, a man spat on him. The monk did not flinch. He bowed and continued walking. The next day, the man spat on him again. The monk bowed again. This continued for 3 days. On the 4th day, the man stood there trembling, with tears in his eyes. "Why do you not strike me? Curse me? Hate me?" The monk smiled. "Because what you give is yours. What I choose to carry is mine." To respond with kindness is to carry peace, even when the world offers you anger, even when life feels unfair. Kindness doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean never setting boundaries or allowing harm. Kindness can say no with love. It can walk away with dignity. It can protect what matters without turning cold. In fact, real kindness requires clarity, courage, discernment. So as you go about your day, practice responding with kindness. When someone interrupts you, pause and listen anyway. When a loved one is distant, send them silent love. When you feel overwhelmed, put your hand over your heart and whisper, "It's okay." These small acts rewire your spirit. They invite grace into your everyday. Kindness is the path, not the destination. And every time you choose it, you plant seeds of healing, not just in others, but in yourself. So let this be your vow, your quiet revolution, your daily ritual. I will respond with kindness today, again and again and again, until it becomes the way you breathe. It begins with a single breath, that space between sleep and wakefulness, when your mind is still soft, when the day hasn't yet crowded in. The light slipping through your window isn't just a sign that morning has arrived, it's a quiet invitation to begin again. And in that sacred pause before the world rushes in, you are offered a choice, a chance to say, this moment, this one right here, I will live it fully. Because everything is temporary. We know this, don't we? We've all seen it. Watch the seasons turn, relationships change, emotions rise and fall like the tide. We've felt it in the way joy dances lightly through our hands and sorrow lingers like mist. And yet, we forget. We cling to the good, we resist the bad, we chase what's pleasant and fight what hurts. But the Buddha, in his infinite compassion and insight, left us with a profound teaching. Anicca, impermanence, all things arise and pass away. To truly understand this isn't to become cold or detached. It is to become awake. Let me tell you a story. There was once a woman named Sudha who lived in the shadow of grief. Her husband had passed unexpectedly, and her world shrank into a tunnel of memories and mourning. Every day she sat by the same tree in her garden, clutching his old shirt, hoping, desperately, that her pain would pass. She visited monks, healers, even wise travelers. But nothing soothed the ache. Until one day, an old nun passed through the village and offered her a task. "Bring me a handful of mustard seeds," she said, "from a home that has never known loss." Sudha set off, hopeful. She knocked on door after door, but every family she met had their own sorrows. Lost fathers, vanished children, broken dreams. The deeper she went into the village, the more her heart broke open. Not just for herself, but for others. And that was the turning point. She returned to the nun empty-handed, but with eyes wide open. "I could not find a single home untouched by grief," she said. The nun smiled gently. "Now you understand, child. Everything changes. Everyone suffers. You are not alone, and this too will pass." Sudha's healing didn't come all at once, but something inside her shifted. She still sat under that tree. But now she also watched the sunrise, because she knew this moment is all we ever truly have. When you say to yourself, "Everything is temporary, so I will enjoy this moment," you are not being naive. You are being brave. You are choosing to open your heart to now. Not yesterday, not someday, now. You are choosing to dance in the rain rather than wait for the storm to pass, to love with your whole heart, even knowing it might break, to laugh deeply, even knowing that sorrow may follow. You are saying, "I will not miss this life waiting for a better one." Because the truth is, the good days pass, but so do the bad ones. The pain you carry today will soften. The joy you feel today will shift. The confusion, the clarity, the love, the loneliness, none of them stay forever. And that is not a tragedy. That is a mercy. It means every breath is a gift. Every moment is unrepeatable. Every sunrise is a once-in-a-lifetime event. So how do you practice this affirmation? Begin by noticing, truly noticing. When you sip your tea, taste it. When you step into sunlight, feel it on your skin. When you laugh, let it shake your ribs. Let go of multitasking. Let go of rushing. And when life feels too hard, when your mind wants to spin in circles, anchor yourself with this truth. This will pass. Close your eyes. Say it softly. Again, this pain will pass, this joy will pass, this moment will pass. So I will live it with presence. There is no better antidote to suffering than presence. There is no greater joy than simply being alive to the moment you are in. If your morning begins in silence, greet it with reverence. If your morning begins in chaos, breathe through it slowly. If your morning begins in grief, honor it gently. Let nothing be wasted, even your tears, even your laughter, because nothing is forever except change. And once you stop running from that truth, you can begin to dance with it. You can begin to live. Say it now. Everything is temporary, so I will enjoy this moment. And mean it, because this breath, this beat of your heart, this little flame flickering behind your eyes, it's a miracle. Live it well.
Before the world wakes up, before the car horns, before the headlines, before the Toto lists start screaming your name, there is silence. That silence is not empty. It is full of everything you've been missing. In a world so loud, so chaotic, so relentlessly demanding of your attention, silence is not a luxury. It is a survival skill. And when you wake each morning, you stand at a threshold between the dream and the day, between the noise of the world and the whisper of your soul. Most of us leap straight into action. Phones, messages, caffeine. But the Buddha taught us something very different. Silence is an empty space. Space is the home of the awakened mind. This sixth affirmation is not something you say. It's something you do. It's the pause before the words, the breath before the reply, the stillness before the storm. Let me take you back to a village, tucked deep within the forests of Sri Lanka. There an old forest monk named Venerable Maha Samatha would begin each day before sunrise. Not with prayer, not with incense, not even with meditation, but with listening. He would rise in the dark, wrap his saffron robe around his shoulders, and sit beneath a banyan tree, hands resting in his lap. He wouldn't move for an hour, not to chase thoughts, not to resist them, just listening. To the sound of the wind brushing leaves, to the soft rustle of animals beginning their day, to the world unfolding, unedited. Someone once asked him, "Why do you do this every morning?" He smiled gently. "Because before I speak, I must learn to hear again." In this age of constant commentary, social media feeds, 24-hour news, endless notifications, we are drowning in words, but we are starved of presence. Silence is your way back to it. The practice of morning silence isn't about discipline for its own sake. It's about reclaiming the first precious moments of your day before the world defines you. In those moments, you get to remember who you are, beneath the roles, beneath the expectations, beneath the noise. You're not the messages waiting in your inbox, you're not the mistakes you made yesterday, you're not even the plans you have for today. You are simply here, breathing, and the silence knows that. So what does it mean to take silence as an affirmation? It means waking up and, instead of reacting, you listen. It means not grabbing your phone for the first 10 minutes. It means stepping outside barefoot and letting your soul hear the world. Again, it means noticing the birds, the light shifting in the sky, the pulse in your own fingertips. It means allowing stillness to rearrange your heart before the day gets to it. I want to share with you a letter, a real one, written by a woman named Priya, who sent it to a Dhamma center in India after attending a 10-day silent retreat. I never knew silence could be so loud. The first 3 days, it screamed. Screamed every regret, every judgment, every failure. But then, something broke open. I began to hear something quieter underneath. My breath, my heartbeat, the ache in my chest I'd ignored for years. I heard myself again. And I wept for the girl I had forgotten. Silence is not always peaceful at first, but it is always healing. In the quiet, you will face yourself. That can be frightening, because noise distracts us from our own suffering. But in silence, that suffering surfaces like a wound finally uncovered, and only then, as the Buddha taught, can true healing begin. He said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." Sometimes that word is no word at all. So I ask you, what if tomorrow morning you gave yourself the gift of listening, not to music, not to your alarm, but to life, unfiltered, to the rhythm of your breath, to the spaces between thoughts, to the still, small voice of your own soul, saying, "I'm still here." This isn't a performance. This isn't about being productive. It's about being alive. Start small. 5 minutes, then maybe 10. Sit in a chair, on your bed, in the grass if you can. Close your eyes, or keep them half open. And just listen, noticing when your mind wanders, noticing when emotion rises, and bringing it all back, not with force, but with kindness. That's the practice and the affirmation that grows from it. I listen before I speak. I feel before I act. I return to myself before I give to the world. Silence teaches you patience, it teaches you clarity, it makes your words kinder, your actions softer, your choices more rooted, because silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of awareness, and in that awareness, everything becomes holy. The sound of a kettle, boiling, the creak of the floorboards, even the racing of your own anxious thoughts. You begin to see it all, not with judgment, but with compassion. And so, if you do nothing else tomorrow morning, don't reach for your phone, reach for silence. In that silence, you might find sorrow, but you will also find strength. You might hear your worries echo, but you will also hear your wisdom answer. And as the day begins to stir, you will not feel tossed into it. You will feel chosen. You will have arrived present. Awake. Hold so. Say it gently to yourself. I begin my day in silence. I listen before the world speaks. And then let the silence speak to you. It has been waiting. When you look in the mirror each morning, what do you see? Do you see someone who is too much, or not enough? Too loud, too quiet, too ambitious, too slow? Do you measure yourself against what someone once told you you were? Or do you dare to meet yourself with open eyes and say, "I am enough, just as I am"? Today, I want to tell you something you may not have heard in a long time. You are not here to fit into someone else's mold. You are not here to chase other people's approval. You are here to live your truth, not theirs. And that truth begins with a simple, revolutionary affirmation. My value is not defined by others. I define my own worth. Let that sink in. You were not born to be rated, ranked, or reviewed. Your essence is not a product for others to accept or reject. You are not your test scores, your job title, your Instagram likes, or your childhood wounds. You are not the cruel things they said when they didn't understand you. You are not the silence when they walked away. You are something far more enduring, a flame that refuses to be extinguished. The Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." But how many of us wake up in the morning and give that love to everyone but ourselves? We rush to prove, to please, to perform, not because we enjoy it, but because deep down, we fear that if we don't, we'll be forgotten, judged, rejected. So, we build masks. We put on smiles that don't quite reach our eyes. We hide our sadness, silence our dreams, shrink our voices, all in the hope that someone, somewhere, will finally tell us, "You're enough." But here's the truth the Buddha taught, and what generations of awakened beings have whispered quietly through time. You already are. Your worth was never missing. It was just buried under expectation, under shame, under the noise of a world too distracted to see clearly. This part of your morning practice is about reclaiming it. Stand before the day and say, "I no longer outsource my worth." This does not mean arrogance. It means returning to a deeper kind of confidence, the kind that does not waver when others don't understand you, the kind that remains steady even when you're walking alone. Let me tell you a story. There was a girl named Lonnie, born in a small fishing village in the Philippines. She was quiet, always watching the waves, speaking to birds, sketching clouds. Her family didn't know what to do with her. "Why can't you be more like your cousins?" they would say. "Louder, stronger, smarter." So Lonnie tried. She memorized multiplication tables. She stood up straighter. She smiled more, but the more she tried to be what they wanted, the more she forgot who she was. Until one morning, many years later, she stood on a pier alone and whispered, "I don't recognize this version of me anymore." That was the beginning of her return. She stopped asking, "What do they want from me?" and started asking, "What do I want for me?" That single question transformed her life. Lonnie now teaches art to children, travels with a sketchbook, and no longer apologizes for her quiet ways. Why? Because she remembered this. You are allowed to exist without permission. You are allowed to be yourself, deeply, unapologetically, even if others don't understand. Buddhist practice calls this samadhi, or right view, seeing clearly, without delusion, and one of the greatest delusions we carry is the belief that others' opinions are more valid than our own truth. So tomorrow morning when you wake, before the opinions of the world rush in, speak to yourself like a friend. I am not too much. I am not too little. I am simply myself, and that is a miracle. Make this your shield, because the world will still try to define you. You're not successful enough. You're too emotional. You're not like us. Smile gently, and say to yourself, "That's their story, not mine." Each time you choose yourself, each time you stay true to your values, each time you hold space for your uniqueness, you rewrite your story. You break free from the prison of approval. You begin to walk the path of liberation. And that is the very heart of the Buddhist teaching. So today's affirmation. My value is not defined by others is not just a morning mantra. It is a call to courage, to live your truth. To stop performing and start being. To know that your worth is not up for debate. Say it softly, say it boldly, say it until it echoes in your bones. I define my own worth, and then live like you believe it. Every morning, you rise and prepare yourself to meet the world. You brush your hair, your teeth, you wash your face. Maybe you glance into the mirror to make sure you look presentable, ready, but have you ever paused, truly paused, and asked, how will I see the people I meet today? Because there's another mirror, not of glass, but of heart, and what you reflect to others is shaped not by your appearance, but by the depth of your understanding. This is the 8th affirmation. Today, I choose to see others through eyes of compassion. Let those words settle inside you, because the way we view the world is often the way we treat it. And in this noisy, fast-moving, judgment-prone world, the rarest thing we can offer one another is understanding. The Buddha called it karua, compassion. It is one of the 4 divine abodes, not pity, not sadness, but the willingness to hold space for another's pain without flinching, fixing, or fleeing. Have you ever walked by someone who looked angry, bitter, closed off, and immediately thought, they're just rude? Most of us have. But what if, beneath that bitterness, was grief? What if that man hadn't spoken to his daughter in years? Or that woman had just lost her husband and didn't know how to smile anymore? You don't know their stories. They don't know yours. But you can choose, in that moment, to be gentle, not because they deserve it, but because compassion is not about deserving, it's about understanding. There's a story in Buddhist lore. One day, the Buddha was insulted by a man in the street. The man yelled, accused, tried to provoke him, but the Buddha remained calm. He looked into the man's eyes and said, if someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man was confused. To the one who offered it, he replied. Exactly, said the Buddha. In the same way, I do not accept your anger. That's compassion, too, not passive, not weak, but rooted in understanding, because the Buddha saw the man, not just his anger, but the suffering underneath it. And every single day, you have this same chance to pause, to breathe, to see more deeply today. Your child might cry for no reason, your coworker might snap at you, a stranger might cut you off in traffic, and you will have a choice, to react, or to reflect, to judge, or to see. And when you see them, really see them through the lens of compassion, something changes. You stop being at war with the world, you start becoming a source of peace. Let me tell you about Ravi. He was a street sweeper in India. Every morning before dawn, he would walk miles, broom in hand, clearing the streets. Most people passed him without a word. Some even looked at him with disgust. But one day, a young monk bowed to him, not out of pity, but respect. Why? Ravi asked. Stunned. The monk replied, because you remove what others leave behind, because your labor is silent kindness. Ravi wept, not because someone gave him money or praise, but because, for the first time, someone saw him. This is the power you hold. To see those around you, the tired barista, the grumpy neighbor, the overworked parent with the gentle eyes of compassion, not to change them, but to stop letting your own pain add to theirs. This doesn't mean allowing harm. Compassion has boundaries. But it does mean that when possible, we soften instead of harden. We listen instead of lecture. We forgive instead of fuel the fire. Try this each morning. Before stepping outside, close your eyes and imagine someone you find difficult. Hold their image gently. Say softly, just like me, this person wants to be happy. Just like me, they suffer. May they be well. This ancient practice is called metta loving-kindness meditation, and it is one of the most transformative habits you can build. Because as you learn to offer compassion outward, you learn to offer it inward, too. And that's the hidden gift of this affirmation. When you choose to see others with compassion, you begin seeing yourself that way. To dot your mistakes, your fears, your awkwardness. They're not flaws. They're pieces of your humanity. The same humanity you see in others. So don't underestimate this affirmation. Today, I choose to see others through eyes of compassion. It can soften a tense room. It can disarm a hurt heart. It can return dignity to a forgotten soul. But most of all, it can remind you that we are not so different after all. Just humans, trying, falling, getting up, loving, failing, healing. So, let your first glance in the morning mirror be filled with compassion, and may every gaze after be shaped by the same. You are not here to judge, you are here to love. And that, truly, is the greatest awakening. Have you ever been caught in a sudden storm? One moment, the sky is clear, peaceful. The next, clouds gather like ancient armies. The air tightens. Thunder growls, rain pours, without warning. Life is like that too, isn't it? Everything can be smooth, flowing, then one phone call, one argument, one crisis, and your whole day unravels. And in those moments, it's easy to lose ourselves. We lash out, we shut down, we spiral into fear, anger, or sadness. That's why today's affirmation is one of the most powerful of all. In every storm, I return to my breath. Let that sit with you. Because this is not just a phrase. It is a lifeline. The Buddha compared the breath to an anchor, a steady point in the sea of life. When the world pulls you in every direction, your breath is the rope that ties you back to the present. It doesn't need to be fancy. You don't have to sit on a cushion or burn incense. You don't need silence. You just need this, one breath, one full, honest, patient breath. Because in that breath, you interrupt the chaos. You remind yourself, I am here, I am alive, I am not the storm. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Lena, single mother, 2 jobs, 3 children. Every morning, she rushed from task to task, packing lunches, folding laundry, answering emails, wrangling toddlers. One morning, her youngest spilled orange juice all over her laptop. Her oldest shouted that he couldn't find his school shoes. The phone rang. Then the baby started crying. Something inside Lena cracked, she screamed, loud, sharp. And immediately, regret washed over her. She felt like a failure. That night, while the kids were asleep, she sat at the edge of her bed and wept. Then she remembered something her grandmother used to say, in every storm, find the breath that steadies the boat. The next morning, before opening her eyes, Lena took 3 deep breaths, slow, deliberate, present. That day, the chaos still came, spilled milk, missed calls, noise, but Lena returned to her breath, again and again, and it changed everything. Because she wasn't reacting anymore, she was responding. From presence, from choice, from power. This is what your breath gives you. A pause, a space, a doorway back to clarity. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all together. You just need to remember. You can always begin again. With one breath, try this practice. Each morning, before rising, place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Inhale deeply for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Do this 3 times. This calms the nervous system. It resets the mind. It tells your whole being, you are safe. Because that's what we often forget, isn't it? When life storms in, we think we're in danger. We think we'll drown. But you won't, because now you have the breath, and it will carry you, not away from the storm, but through it. You'll still get wet. You'll still get shaken, but you won't get lost. And that's everything. So let this be your mantra. In every storm, I return to my breath. When you're driving and someone cuts you off. When your inbox explodes. When your child screams. When your plans fall apart. Don't just react. Return to the breath. To the anchor. To the stillness beneath the noise. To the center that cannot be broken, because you carry peace within you. It's not in the yoga class. It's not in the vacation. It's not in some faraway mountain. It's here, in you. In every inhale, in every exhale, so start each day with it, and when the storms come, and they will come, smile. You have what you need, not to run, not to hide, but to stand firm, to breathe, to be free. Imagine this. The sky hasn't turned blue yet. There's a hush over the world, the kind that comes just before the first light. The wind isn't blowing. The birds haven't sung. The city isn't moving. It's that sacred moment between night and morning, when the world still holds its breath. And here you are, just awakened, a new day stretched before you. What if, in that sacred moment, before anything else, you placed your hands together not in prayer to something outside, but in devotion to your own heart and whispered, may my day be filled with peace. What might shift? What might soften? What might open? This final affirmation is not a wishful hope or a passive desire. It is an invitation. You are inviting peace into your life, not as a reward, not as a luxury, but as your birthright. The Buddha said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without, and yet, most of us spend our entire day chasing peace outside ourselves. We think we'll find peace in a clean inbox, a balanced budget, a perfectly behaved child, or a flawless to-do list. But peace is never in the outcome. It is in the presence. It's not what happens that gives us peace. It's how we meet what happens. So this affirmation is your declaration. I choose to meet this day with peace. Even if it's noisy, even if it's messy, even if it hurts. Let me tell you about Raphael. He worked in a hospice, caring for those in their final days. He saw death every week. Grief, pain, regret, families fighting, silence, sobs. And yet, Raphael was one of the most peaceful people I ever met. I once asked him, how do you do it? How do you walk through that pain every day and still smile like that? He told me, every morning, I stand outside before the sun rises, and I say, may my day be filled with peace. Not because peace is guaranteed, but because I need to choose it, again and again. Peace doesn't mean life will be gentle. It means you will be gentle. It means you'll remember to pause before shouting, to breathe before reacting, to smile when you could scowl, to forgive before the wound hardens. This kind of peace isn't passive. It's fierce. It's the warrior's path. It takes courage to walk into a stressful world and not let it poison your heart. It takes strength to sit in traffic or at a tense dinner and choose kindness. But this is your power. This is your choice. So how do you live this affirmation? You begin every morning with a whisper. May my day be filled with peace. You sit with it for a moment, let it sink into your bones, and then you live it. You infuse peace into your coffee, into your shower, into the way you lace your shoes. You carry it into your emails, your meetings, your errands. You let peace speak through your posture, your gaze, your laughter. You become peace in motion, and when you're thrown off because you will be, you return to the breath, to the body, to the quiet voice inside that reminds you, you are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not the chaos. You are peace. Yes. You. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter how loud the world is today. This moment is always new. So breathe. Place your hands over your heart and say it one more time. May my day be filled with peace. Let that blessing ripple outward. To your loved ones. To strangers. To those who hurt you. And finally, let it ripple inward. To the parts of you that are tired. To the places that still ache. Let them know. They are not forgotten. They are held. They are allowed to heal, because peace isn't something you earn. It's something you remember, and now you have remembered. Let this be your final word each morning. Before the world rushes in. Before the doubts arrive. Before you forget again. Just this. Peace. May it begin with you. May it follow you. May it fill the spaces within you. And may it bless this day.